much, and thank you for having me here. I'm very, very happy and pleased to be here, and yes, thank you. Another thing that wasn't mentioned in that introduction is that I am also a part of the Ontario Basic Income Pilot Project. I'm a recipient of basic income. Just to do a quick recap so that we're all on the same page, what is the Ontario Basic Income Pilot Project? During Kathleen Wynne's Liberal government, they launched a study where they chose 4,000 people in 4 cities of Hamilton, Thunder Bay, Brantford, and Lindsay to receive an unconditional basic income. And that amount, it was geared towards people who are low income. So the qualifying factor was if you were making under $30,000 a year, and you could receive up to $1,400 a month if you were single. And if you were working, then that amount would be subtracted by 50 cents to the dollar. So I was working while receiving basic income, so I received about $700 a month. It was meant to be a 3-year study, and there were 2 control groups. There were people who were on basic income and people who weren't on basic income, and they would both be able to fill out surveys describing what their life is like on basic income or not. So I remember I applied for this in December of 2017, and I found out I got approved in February of 2018. And one of the very first thoughts I had was, my rent is covered. Oh my God, my rent is covered. Holy shit, my rent is covered. Like, it was just the hugest weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. And that was because at that point in time, I was working 4 jobs. In the morning, I would get up bright and early. I would walk dogs all morning into the afternoon. And then in the evening, I would teach piano all evening and into the night. I never had time to go home and make myself dinner. And in between those 2 jobs, I was still working so hard to try and build my photography business and also working for Photographers Without Borders. So when I was able to do that, I was able to drop down, quit teaching piano, quit walking dogs, and focus all my energy into the pursuits I really wanted to pursue. And then Doug Ford's government came in, and they had gone on the record during their election multiple times and stated and made election promises saying that they weren't going to cancel the basic income pilot. So hell hath no fury like a photographer scorned. The source of my fury was multifold. At the core, I was furious because I just had a rich white man steal a whole bunch of money from me. And not only that, he broke the election promise. And I was also furious because it wasn't just me. I'm one of the lucky ones, but there are 3,999 low-income people, and they're going to suffer. And how they've treated us is deplorable. So when they made the announcement on July 31st, and they only announced it to the media, and all they said is, we are going to cancel the basic income pilot. No information about when they were going to cancel it or what that would look like. So for the entire month of August, all of us were terrified, thinking, are we going to get this payment that we have been counting on and have planned our lives around? Finally, a month later, they said that they would cancel the pilot in March, and that would be the last payment. But again, no direct communication to any of the basic income recipients whatsoever. Nobody got any letters in the mail from the government until mid-October. That's 2.5 months of silence from the government. And they were unable to provide any reason based on any fact or evidence whatsoever as to why they canceled it. And this was a world issue. This is a study that's being viewed on the world stage, and the data is valuable in a world conversation about basic income. There are pilots of basic income taking place all over the world, and economists that were watching this study. And it would have provided very concrete answers and furthered on the conversation about what the future of economics looks like in our world right now. So I was furious. And I realized if I had to react, I had to react fast. So I immediately, the next day, I started contacting people, reaching out on social media, and this portrait series called Humans with Basic Income was born. So what I started doing is I started finding people through social media, through Facebook, finding people who were recipients of basic income, and I wanted to know, well, what were you using the money for, and can you tell me? So I went to Queen's Park, and I had pieces of Bristol board that I'd ripped up, and I had a package of Sharpies, and I got people to write some of the signs. So I imagine some of you will want to see some of the photos, so I brought some with me. This is Tim. He is very talkative, but he has been with me from the beginning. Basic income helps me stay healthy with good food. I am ill. The effects of poverty are more than being poor. Basic income helps our family with the atrocious costs that come with hospital parking. Hashtag more important than a beer. Basic income alleviated my stress when my income wasn't enough each month. I am precariously employed. I am a full-time student and a beginning manual therapist in my community. This one was very sad. Basic income means I can pay my guide dog's medical bills. ODSP does not have a drug plan for service animals. $250 a month for meds, never mind vet costs. The option was to give her back and the school would adopt her out. Basic income has allowed me to keep her in my independence. That's not her pet, that's her guide dog. That's her tool for accessibility, and she will lose it when basic income is canceled. Basic income is the income used to qualify me for housing subsidy. It feeds my children with special needs while I'm being dragged along through a broken family court system, seeking disclosure for child support and getting poorer. And I'm waiting for FRO to proactively enforce a previous child support order from a father who has never paid child support, who is now over $35,000 in arrears. So, as you can see, there are very serious situations and very serious subjects in this portrait series. And so I was able to I started in Hamilton, I started in my own city, but then I realized as I was going that I need to get to other cities in order for it to be effective. I need to get to Brantford, I need to get to Lindsay, I need to get to Thunder Bay. And as I started sharing these on social media, the portrait series took a life of its own. It gained traction on Twitter, on Facebook, and all of a sudden I had people reaching out to me. So people flew me out to Thunder Bay so I could take portraits there. People got me to come to Lindsay so I could take portraits there. So I have achieved portraits in all 4 cities. My goal was 50 portraits. Right now I'm at 70 portraits, and I'm not stopping, and I'm still having people approach me, and I'm still taking portraits. These portraits have been exhibited in Hamilton at Supercrawl. They were in Toronto. They're currently in Kingston at Queen's University, and my next goal is to get them into Queen's Park. And I have MPPs and politicians working with me right now to make that happen. There's a GoFundMe that's been going on. I've been interviewed by CBC, Toronto Star, the Huffington Post. My life got a little weird, basically. And this needs to get big. I need this to be seen by everyone. My goal when this first happened is I said, I want Doug Ford to know my name. And I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, Doug Ford knows my name, and he doesn't really like me. But now I want Justin Trudeau to know my name. I want this to be an election issue, and next year with the 2019 election coming up, I want every federal politician talking about this, and it's already begun. Jagmeet Singh has already publicly called out Justin Trudeau and asked him to save the basic income pilot. Elizabeth May, along with Mike Schreiner of the Green Party, have written an open letter to Trudeau asking him to take on the pilot. And this issue is a multi-partisan issue. It needs to extend beyond party lines. And so far I've had people from the Liberal, NDP, and Green parties who have been outspoken in supporting me. And I need them to be united in this and continue to support it. So, it's clear that the Conservatives are not going to take us up on the pilot, but we have succeeded in putting a human face to a political issue, and we have prompted a conversation about what it means to work with the most vulnerable in society, and what it means to amplify voices and give people power and give people the chance to tell their stories on a platform where people will listen to them and hear them. We are living in very scary times. I never thought I would see the day where I would live in a world where Donald Trump is the President of the United States and Doug Ford is the Premier of Ontario. But let's be clear, the elements that created Doug Ford did not happen overnight. We were still in recovery from the cuts from the Mike Harris government to social services, the cuts that Claude mentioned in his talk. And now they are going to be cut further. And the Liberal government in the last 20 years, we were still recovering, and they did not do enough to fix OW and ODSP. A big thing I've learned through doing this portrait series and meeting these people is that those social service systems were keeping people in poverty and making it impossible for people to live and get out of it. And what we know, and what I do know for a fact, is that when social services get cut, people die. This is a fact, and I know this, and I know that people I know now might die, and I'm terrified. We live in dangerous times, and we live in times where views and people's opinions are becoming increasingly polarized. We have the left and the right, and this seems to be increasingly harder and harder to find a middle ground where we can talk in a way that's civil and educated and informed. a lot of times that people who have opposed the work that I am doing or have been in opposition to these stories coming forward, the language I'm encountering are words such as parasite and leech. And like you mentioned in your talk about language that's used to dehumanize and affect violence. I'm seeing this now. I'm getting it. I'm receiving this language. I'm a parasite. I'm a leech to some people. I've had people tell me to kill myself. And they're dehumanizing terms. They are literally saying our value and worth as humans is directly related to how we contribute to the economy. And if we cannot contribute to the economy in a way that they are satisfied with, we aren't human. We're parasites. We're leeching off the taxpayer system. We're lazy. We're entitled. And we see this throughout history, time and time again. People groups, class groups, races, and when that dehumanizing language is used, it opens the door for the justification of violence. And in this case, is justifying lazy parasites and violence against them. And if we don't combat that violence, if we don't look it in the face, people will die. And it might not be as overtly violent as a genocide or a Holocaust, but people will die. They will gain long-term health problems that will go untreated because they can't afford good food, or they can't afford safe, clean housing, or they can't afford the medication that they need to survive. They will go to jail because there's a direct link to poverty and crime. They will kill themselves over untreated mental health issues or the stress and hopelessness that comes with the disease that is poverty. I firmly believe that poverty is a disease, and people's lives are at stake. And poverty costs our province $38 billion per year. So be furious with me that a study that cost $150 million and would have given a huge answer to what this cost is and how to combat that will be cut prematurely, ultimately wasting all of that money with no data and no research to show for it while people die in poverty. Mr. Lisa MacLeod has said that she will reform Ontario's social welfare system in 100 days, and day 100 is coming up, and that's November 8th. It is impossible to do that in 100 days. It's simply impossible. The most comprehensive and effective government in the world cannot reform social welfare in 100 days, especially in a place as diverse as Ontario and as large as Ontario. What social welfare looks like in Toronto is different than what it looks like in Hamilton, is different than what it looks like in Thunder Bay, is different than what it looks like in Owen Sound or Ottawapiskat or Pembroke or any of the places that make up our beautiful province. And I know for a fact she's done zero consultations with any of these groups. Like Claude said, zero consultations with any social service groups. And I'm terrified the announcement is going to be more cuts to social services, and they're just calculating what they can cut and where they can cut it. And I don't think my fears are unfounded. And I know what I've just said is terrifying. This is scary, and this is real, and this is the world that we are living in right now. So we need to be brave, and we need to be united. And I haven't been able to do this myself. I have had people who have come along from all walks of life, friends and strangers. People have helped me manage my social media. People have flown me up to Thunder Bay, take portraits. The people here invited me to speak to you and talk to you about the work that I'm doing. And people across all economic landscapes have come forward to help in any way that they can. And it's been a huge process of connecting all of these people across the province, academics, lawyers, activists, politicians, all over, and everyone working together to fight this and fight it strategically and fight it smartly. And so despite all this senseless evil, these ill-thought decisions, and this dehumanizing rhetoric, I've been inspired. I'm encouraged by the goodness of people. People are sharing these portraits and telling the stories. They've been tweeting, they've been responding, they've been donating money and time and skills, and this has been successful to tell the stories. And it made me realize that this is way bigger than just a portrait series, and that the only way we win this is if we stay united and we focus on the cause. So I leave you, I want to ask why you are here. Because I've encountered so many strangers and supporters, and this project could not have happened alone. And I need your help now. I need this project to continue. And I have my camera here. I'm ready for the next phase of my portrait series. So what I'm doing now is I'm targeting people who are not on basic income anymore. Oh, there's another one. The basic income program helped us move to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood and feel financially secure enough to go back to school and get a better job. But now I'm targeting people who aren't on basic income, who support basic income, and asking you why you do. And people of all walks of life and all professions. This is Andrea. She is a coordinator at a community group in Hamilton called the Hamilton Hive. I support basic income because I believe everyone deserves a chance at health, success, and happiness. This is Andrew. He's a doctor. He's a family physician. So in his line of work, he deals with marginalized people all the time, and he sees the detriments of the social systems and the detriments of poverty. I support basic income because I see the negative health effects of poverty every day at work. This is Floyd. Last 2 weeks ago, there were 100 CEOs who penned a letter to the Ontario government putting pressure on them to reinstate the pilot. Floyd is the composer of that letter, and he is a CEO. Basic income will unleash human potential. It will grow the economy and create a society that is more confident, respectful, and self-reliant. This is Mike Schreiner. He's the leader of the Ontario Green Party. I support a basic income guarantee because everyone deserves economic security. Premier Ford, we need solutions and not cuts to reduce income inequality. I have Bristol board here, I have markers, and if you support basic income, then I want you to write why you support it. I want you to tell me why, and I want you to be in my portrait series. I have my camera, I'm ready to go. And we cannot be neutral in times of oppression. Being united means taking action. And I'm asking you to take action. I'm asking you to take a marker, take a piece of cardboard, and tell me your story and let me share it. We're going to change the world. We're making history here. This is how you make history. Thank you.